Hello, everyone. I'm Dalton Burdett, and we are the Movie Nights.
Well, some of them.
If you're watching this because you want to hear our uncensored,
Unfiltered
thoughts and opinions about the world of movies and entertainment news, so kick back,
relax.
and thank you for being part of the conversation. Two things. One, welcome back.
Thank you, and thank you to Kyler Wagner for filling in for me.
Yes, and two, sandwich looks delicious.
Thank you. I won't say who it's from because they don't sponsor us.
That's goddamn right. Anyway, we have a really fun show for you guys set up today, but off the top, we want to talk about some trailers that came out last week. Two big ones.
Mm-hmm.
One was for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. We got the title reveal.
What a title.
What a title. And one was for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Mm-hmm.
I loved both trailers. The Indiana Jones one, I'm so happy with how good that trailer was. One, just because, the kingdom of that. And two, because, I have faith in the new movie. James Mangold, everyone's back. Harrison Ford actually seems like he likes Indiana Jones in the press. But we were told a few days before the trailer dropped that, hey, this movie has de-aging and it's pretty wowing. But every time they do de-aging, they say it's pretty wowing. This de-aging was fucking good. Like, you see it 2 or 3 times in the trailer, and I was like, seeing it. Like, it's insane that that's new footage that they shot and not, like, old stuff that they've, 4K'd. I used 4K'd as a verb. I know you shouldn't do that. But yeah. And for Guardians 3, almost teared up in the trailer. I'm not ready for the amount of Guardians that they'll seemingly kill because Jesus Christ. But I think James Gunn's going to go out with a bang. What do you think of those trailers?
I thought that the Indiana Jones trailer, I loved the music cues in it.
Mm-hmm.
And like kind of the new tweaks they did to the main theme. That YouTube compression though.
Oh,
Did not do some favors to like the motorcycle riding and the horse riding. The horse was bad, but I mean, obviously when we get to it, it'll look fine. The de-aging I thought was incredible. Mm-hmm. Like I saw that, I went, ooh,
yeah,
go on,
yeah.
And I guess that's the benefit too. When I assume it's not a large part of the movie, the de-aging.
Yeah,
like when you look at like Sam Jackson in Captain Marvel, you're like, all right, we need a few minutes away from this here, so. I think it'll work well in that.
And also, Lucasfilm, and ILM just developing new technologies to make it look better. I mean, look at the improvement from Mando Season 1 to Book of Boba Fett with how Luke looked. Like, it's a stark improvement. Mm-hmm. And that's partially because they hired somebody on YouTube who did it better, and they were like, fucking hey, you want to come work for us? Like, which is insane.
Someone on YouTube said, I could do this better, and they said, bet.
All right, come make it better.
And they won the bet. Yeah.
But yeah.
And Dial of Destiny is just
awesome.
A killer title. You mentioned something with Kingdom in the title?
Yeah, I don't know what that was referring to. I don't know. My brain just kind of leaked there.
I didn't, because, we haven't had an Indiana Jones one since, the third one?
Shia.
As for Guardians, I've always been a big fan of the Guardians of the Galaxy. I know that some people had kind of mixed reception to 2. Mm-hmm. I think it's great. And I think that James Gunn, especially with how all the troubles that project had, with COVID and with James Gunn being fired and then rehired and switching in slates and everything, I think they benefit from being kind of far removed from things happening on Earth. Mm-hmm. But the trailer was great, lots of emotion, a killer song choice.
Yeah.
But it's James Gunn, so are we shocked?
No.
And the only issue I have with the trailer though is that it peaked in the first 5 seconds when Drax just pegs that little creature with the. But it looks to be a rocket-heavy film.
Yes,
which I love that character in the Guardians mix, and it looks like they're probably going back to all those animal hybrid things. Probably who created Rocket, and looks like he perfected the formula for this. Now, what his motivation for doing it is, I don't know. Maybe he's just a psychotic, fucked up human being that was just like, But I'm excited to see that, and especially after watching the Guardians holiday special, which was entertaining. Yeah. It wasn't, as terms of specials, it was no Werewolf by Night.
Yeah.
but perfectly fun.
And very heartwarming.
Very fun, heartwarming, and I'm excited to see more of Mantis because she was featured heavily in the trailer.
And Mantis crushed it in the spotlight.
So I'm excited to see that character kind of step into the forefront as well, and I hope we get more Kraglin. I've always liked Kraglin, and he wasn't in the trailer at all, and it made me sad.
Yeah.
But he's on the poster, so there's hope.
Yes, always hope, always hope. What did you guys think of the Indiana Jones and Guardians of the Galaxy 3 trailers? Let us know in the comments as we move on to our main stories. Nicholas, welcome back. What you got for us first?
Our first story comes to us from Variety. Legendary Entertainment, the production company behind Dune and Godzilla vs. Kong, has cut ties with Warner Brothers and entered a multi-year worldwide film distribution partnership with Sony Pictures. Under this new agreement, Sony will market and distribute Legendary's upcoming theatrical motion picture titles.
Yes, thank you for bringing that in for us. And this is a big kind of industry shakeup. Long ago, Legendary was with Warner Brothers. Then for a brief spell, they left for Universal. But then they came back to Warner Brothers. And they've always been really just close-knit friends. And if you look up the number of films that Legendary and Warner Brothers made together and the films that they made together, it's staggering. Like, the amount of great films. It was a great partnership. Like, in modern day, like, versions of, like, what else is an example of that? I would say, like, the Universal Blumhouse relationship. Just, like, two peas in a pod will continue to crank out hits. Like, that's just how they are. Well, last year, or, oh my gosh, almost 2 years ago now, oh, that was rough. When the whole thing announced with the old Warner Brothers leadership that movies were going to go day and date on HBO Max, you know, we rightfully said this is going to piss a lot of people off and it might even permanently damage relationships. We saw it with Christopher Nolan, who left for Universal, and now we're finally seeing it with Legendary because the story points out that this has to do with them putting Godzilla vs. Kong and Dune directly on a streaming service for their own benefit, and it nearly bankrupted Legendary to the point where they were going to pursue legal action and had to settle with Warner Brothers. And the article also points out that the reason they chose Sony over all of the other ones is because Sony doesn't have their own streaming service and they can't get burned like that again. Like, that's how upset they were about the streaming thing. They're like, we don't even want the option of that happening to us again. Now, something that's important to point out, everything MonsterVerse related and everything Dune related will remain at Warner Brothers. They've have a contract where the next Godzilla vs. Kong movie is going to still be Warner Brothers. Dune 2 is going to be Warner Brothers. Anything continuing in those two franchises, Warner Brothers has stake in.
Okay.
Everything new going forward will be with Sony. This is a really big deal in the industry, and I think because of that, we're going to see not that Sony makes, awful movies. They don't. They make really good movies. But I think...
And Spider-Man movie. No,
but I think part of that is, like, they made Spider-Man movies, that was their thing.
Yeah.
That, like, guided them through. If it wasn't a Sony Pictures classic, more Oscar-type movie, that's where quality kind of dipped. I think now with this Legendary connection, we're going to see some great films start coming out of Sony, and then they're going to be a major contender again that's not just with their franchises. What are your thoughts on this whole thing?
I mean, like you said before, I think it's a great deal overall, and I know that Warner Brothers is in kind of recovery PR mode with studios and filmmakers and producers and everything, given the whole day and date scandal that happened. I never thought about Sony not having their own streaming service, which is actually a smart move on Legendary if they were really burned by that.
Yeah.
And especially when you have things like Godzilla and Dune being two very recognizable IPs. Mm-hmm. The box office potential of them would have been insane. And
yeah.
Warner Brothers was also, they didn't pull a Paramount where they were like, no, we're going to hold it because Godzilla, oh my God, if Godzilla vs. Kong came out now, with how much is not in the theaters right now,
yeah,
it would make a
Crush
fortune.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I know they're doing a sequel to that, the Apple Plus TV series, which makes more sense now knowing this. So does Warner Brothers get stake in it would be my question, but do they also get the distribution? Like, are they a producer on the Godzilla TV series that's on Apple?
That I'm not sure of. Mm-hmm. Probably. I would assume so.
Okay.
But in terms of any future distribution of theatrical films that aren't those two franchises, it's going to be Sony.
And do you know kind of what else Legendary has?
Yes. So Legendary has made films such as the Pacific Rim films. They've
Those are
made
good Guillermo.
the Dark Knight trilogy. They did the Hangover trilogy. They did Mamma Mia 2, which right there, Warner Brothers should know how much they've just lost.
They lost the whole Mamma Mia cinematic universe.
Mamma Mia 1, Mamma Mia 2, fantastic, and I stand by that.
Of course, it has Cher.
They also made
And Andy Garcia.
They also made 300. They made the Warcraft film. They made Detective Pikachu. You know, there's all kinds of stuff that Legendary has been able to do.
I did not realize how much Legendary has.
Yeah, they do a lot.
Oh, they are going to ramp up
Mm-hmm.
a Pokemon universe going now with Sony at the
Probably.
wheel.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Off of that, give me more Pacific Rim movies.
Yeah, bring back Guillermo, though.
Yeah. No, don't do it without him. Wow, they have a good series. Give me a Mr. Chow Hangover series. That's what we want. A Logan-style Mr. Chow movie.
That would be the shit.
I didn't know that they did The Dark Knight. That's interesting. I didn't know they had their hand in the...
Yeah, well, I mean, they can't make
'Cause
Batman movies at Sony because Warner
no.
Brothers owns the IP. But yeah, no, them, Christopher Nolan, Syncope, and DC Films, you know.
So could Legendary potentially then be involved in a Spider-Man Sonyverse project?
If they wanted to, sure.
Huh.
It all depends. Well, it also depends on Marvel, because I think Marvel Studios is the sole production company of them.
Gotcha.
But
Okay.
I mean, maybe. We'll see. Who knows how that deal can expand.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do you guys think about Legendary switching teams and going to Sony? You know, they've done it in the past, but they eventually did go back to Warner Brothers. What do you think is going to happen? Let us know in the comments as we move on to our next story. Nicholas, what you got for us next?
Our next story comes to us from Deadline. It's actually a little bit of a two-parter with Deadline and then a follow-up in The Hollywood Reporter.
Okay.
But Deadline article goes, following a competitive bidding war, which we love here.
Yes, we do.
That saw several studios and streamers in the mix, Amazon Studios has landed Red Shirt, a new movie starring Channing Tatum based on an original pitch by Simon Kinberg. David Leitch is aboard to direct the picture.
That sounds like a killer combo trio that we need to see.
Now, the name Simon Kinberg.
Yes.
Why do I know that name?
Writer of most of the X-Men films and director of Dark Phoenix and the 355.
I have a lot more thoughts now that I know that he wrote this.
May I... Devil's Advocate.
Yes.
He also wrote Days of Future Past. Solely. I'm pretty sure he's the only credited screenwriter on that movie.
A broken clock's right twice a day, so let's hope this is the second time then.
Well, here's the thing. A lot of the stuff that he's written, very well written stuff. Like, he did mess up the Dark Phoenix story both times.
That's pretty hard. Let's give it to a third time, see what happens.
Yeah,
actually.
right. Third time's a charm. No, but the good X-Men movies, too, he also had a hand in.
Okay.
And X-Men has made some fucking killer movies.
And David Leitch,
one of the co-directors of John Wick,
Yep.
director of Hobbs and Shaw, director of Deadpool 2,
he did do Deadpool.
director of Bullet Train.
Who did the first Deadpool? That wasn't him too?
Tim Miller.
Okay, gotcha. All right, yeah. So David Leitch, good director.
Yes.
All right. And Channing Tatum,
Love him.
you heard of him before?
Yes.
Up and coming guy? Before we get into this more, I'm sorry that I'm bringing us on a tangent here.
No, let's
Can
go.
I tell you how much I love Channing Tatum lately?
Please.
I was not a Channing Tatum guy.
Mm-hmm.
Put it out there. And then I saw 21 Jump Street. I said, all right, I'm watching. Yeah, I saw 22 Jump. I'm like, all right. And then I saw Magic Mike.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, these are actually really good movies.
They're great movies.
And then he went away.
Yeah.
And I went, where the fuck is Channing Tatum? And he's just been coming back in like these cameos and small and crushing it.
Yes.
And now we got Magic Mike 3 and now
Yes.
this.
And sir, you forgot about Logan Lucky. And how good he is in Logan Lucky.
I love Logan Lucky. I forgot about Logan Lucky. How could I forget about Logan Lucky?
Yeah.
Continue. Apologies. I just wanted to
No,
lament
no.
about Channing Tatum.
No, you're good. You're good. First of all, this trio I'm really, really excited about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that Simon Kinberg is not directing. No offense, Mr. Kinberg. Which I want to see him direct something small. Because he went from Dark Phoenix to the 355, and I feel like if he got his hands on like a small indie budgeted movie, he could really learn a lot and give us something good. Simon Kinberg, I want to see you direct a small indie movie, and I want to see you crush it. You're a good writer. I want to see it happen.
You think he just gets too big of projects?
Well, I think he went from never directing a movie before in his life to Dark Phoenix.
Mm.
And it's just like, that's kind of a lot. And he must be a good guy because Jessica Chastain went to the 355 after Dark Phoenix.
Yeah.
So he's got to be a really nice person. David Leitch, brilliant director, brilliant action director. And Channing Tatum, as we mentioned before, singing his praises. Love him. Good to see him kind of starring lead in a role again, other than Magic Mike 3, of course, which we will be watching. And yeah, I think this is great news. And, you know, I think a deal like this doesn't come without a bit of money, though. I'm sure it was not cheap.
It was not cheap, which goes to our next story from the Hollywood Reporter. Let's talk paydays.
Paydays.
We don't get to hear about paydays often.
Underrated candy bar.
It is. We got about 10 minutes on candy bars. According to multiple sources, the deal calls for Channing Tatum to be paid $25 million to star in and I believe produce.
Mm-hmm.
David Leitch is set to get $18 million to direct, with Simon Kinberg nabbing $8 million for his writing and producing services. Holy shit, this must be a script.
Oh, yeah. And hey, you said bidding war. We fucking love a bidding war.
Are there any plot details that they kind
No.
of action, I'm assuming?
Yeah,
Mhm.
but it's called Red Shirt. I hope it's like a Star Trek parody movie so badly.
Oh, that'd be funny.
Yeah, I mean, it's
didn't
probably
think of
not.
that. Yeah.
But that would make me very excited. But yeah, no, I'm excited about this film. I think, you know, with the combination of the three of them, and also every David Leitch film, this is a little bit unrelated, every David Leitch film has great trailers. So I'm just really excited to see the trailer whenever it's ready. Like every David Leitch movie has good trailers. But yeah, I'm excited. You're excited, I take it.
I'm excited. They're putting money at this, so
And listen,
let's hope it works.
I'm not going to say it's discouraging to hear paydays like that, but god damn it.
Well, my question too is Amazon Studios acquired it.
Mm-hmm.
Are we getting a theatrical with this? Because I remember Amazon trying to break into the theaters.
Yes, I would say yes.
Yes.
Because with that cash put into it,
they need to recoup something.
they're not dumb like Netflix. I think they're gonna put this in theaters, which we'll get into later.
Yeah.
But yeah. Either way, we're looking forward to this film. What do you guys think about Channing Tatum, David Leitch, and Simon Kinberg working on a new movie with Amazon Studios and with hella paydays? Let us know in the comments as we move on to our next story. Nicholas, what do we got?
Speaking of streaming service studios and theatrical releases, let's talk Glass Onion and Knives Out Mystery.
Let's do that.
Ahead of Thanksgiving, this story comes to us from Variety. Ahead of Thanksgiving, cinema owners, increasingly dismayed by the lack of compelling movies to screen, are painfully aware that this fall's only blockbuster, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, wouldn't match the stratospheric grosses of its predecessor. Approached Netflix with a plea. Would it be possible, they asked, for Glass Onion, a Knives Out Mystery, the sequel to 2019's box office hit Knives Out, play in more theaters and for a longer period of time? Dalton, what did Netflix have to say to that?
Netflix said, "Hey, Rian Johnson, fuck you." They've said what they've said to filmmakers in theaters ever since their inception. Hey, fuck no. Mr. Scorsese, we're going to play your theaters in New York and LA for a couple weeks so it qualifies for Oscars. That's it. Can I get more? No. Well, why not? I'm Martin Scorsese. We said shut the fuck up, sir. That's enough. That's what they've been doing. Now, it should be pointed out, when Netflix acquired the rights to Knives Out 2 and 3, they paid a lot of money for them. They paid, I believe it was $300 or $400 million. And you might be thinking, holy Christ, it was to produce, distribute, and pay Rian Johnson and Daniel Craig. And if you find the article, it was a few years ago, but if you find the article, it actually puts their salaries in the article, which we'll have to look for at some point. But they paid a lot for it. Now, I'm fairly certain, and I could be wrong. Comments, please tell me if I'm wrong about this. I'm fairly certain that part of that deal was the option to release somewhat theatrically. I could be wrong about that. I think it is, though. Please tell me if I'm wrong. Anyway, Netflix has recently revealed through Variety that they left a lot of money on the table by not expanding the theatrical run. And people from Netflix saying this. But they've also said, we're not going to do anything about it, whatever. You have now Rian Johnson saying he's pushing for Glass Onion to go back in theaters again. you know how I feel about this. I think every movie should be seen on the big screen.
Mm-hmm.
I think movies have a great place for streaming because you can get it to more people. I can't tell you how many movies I've discovered from streaming. It's a great tool. But in terms of recouping your money, in terms of performance on streaming, and in terms of giving something a certain value that it just doesn't have going straight to streaming, I hate to admit that, but it's true. You got to put your movie in the theaters. You'll make money, it'll have value, and it will do better on streaming. Netflix kind of has their heels in the sand when it comes to this concept. You have other filmmakers, as I mentioned before, Scorsese, not being able to get those wide theatrical runs. This movie made millions of dollars, and it's from people independently calculating it because Netflix won't release the real numbers because they never do for anything ever. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I think they should put now, whether they should put the film back in theaters or not, I don't know, because this is great marketing for the film to come out on Christmas for Netflix, and they need that subscriber boost for the end of the quarter. Mm-hmm. Knives Out 3, put that bitch in theaters for 30, 60 days. Do it. What are you going to lose? Nothing. You will lose nothing. And then guess what? As soon as it disappears from theaters, put it on Netflix. Bam, it has another resurgence, right? Mm-hmm. That's the power that you have. That's what Amazon wants to do, and I think it's a great idea. What are your thoughts on this whole shindig?
I understand Netflix's position because that is a big budgeted IP that they paid a lot of money for. Mm-hmm. And they paid all that money for it to exclusively be on their streaming service.
Yes.
Notice what I said, streaming service, because that's what Netflix is.
Yes.
And I love the movie theater experience. Mm-hmm. It's Netflix.
Yeah.
They're a streaming service. If they want to be a movie studio, then they need to repivot their whole market strategy. Look at Paramount. They put Top Gun in theaters. It just hit the streaming service.
Yeah.
After what? 100+ days in theaters?
Yeah, more than 90 days.
If they wanted to be a movie studio, then they should be a movie studio. But if they're going to be a streaming service, be a streaming service. Now, I get wanting to make the money, put it in theaters. If people want to see it once a week, they had potentially the contractual obligation. Here's my issue with it. And it's with Rian Johnson and, as you said, with the example with Martin Scorsese.
Yes.
If they're going to throw a fuss, I'm not saying they're being too fussy, but if they're going to be like, I want it to be in theaters more. I want it, put it in theaters longer than a week. Don't sell your movie to a streaming service.
Yeah.
Sell it to a movie studio.
Yeah.
Netflix is a production studio. They're a movie studio, mm-hmm. right? But they're making movies for streaming, mm-hmm. for their platform.
Yes.
If I didn't want my movie on a streaming service exclusively, I wouldn't sell it to Netflix.
No matter what dollars they threw at me.
No matter what dollars. Now, I could sell it to, let's say Sony bought it, put it in theaters, and then they made a deal after the fact where Netflix would be the sole distributor of it, or Hulu would be the sole distributor of it for streaming. Let it have its theatrical run, and then get the money on that as well. But, and I understand that from the director's standpoint, wanted to see your movie on the big screen in the theaters, but I just take issue with the fact of, don't sell it to the streaming service then.
Yeah.
If you want that.
And so, I hear you. And something else that I think we can agree on is this. If you're going to be a streaming service and only make movies for streaming, what the fuck are you doing spending this amount of money? Exactly. Under no circumstance should you be doing that. If you're going to spend that money, become a fucking movie studio and get that fucking money back. You're not going to make it with subscribers. There's no fucking way.
No.
There's no way. Which is why they put it in theaters for a week, and regardless...
Because it made, what, $13 million more than it would have?
Yeah, 15. Yeah. I think the final number is around 15, something like that. Yeah. And hey, that's money they would have not seen from a subscriber bump. No fucking way, dude.
But it's like, okay, great. They paid Kate Hudson's salary. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But... it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. And also, I pulled up the report.
Yeah.
The Hollywood Reporter said that the $469 million deal mm-hmm. for Knives Out 2 and 3, including paying Rian Johnson and Daniel Craig $100 million each for both films. Like, both films combined.
So $50 million a film each. Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
But... I had I love Looper.
Yep.
Last Jedi did something.
I like Last Jedi.
And then he did Knives Out, and I was like, you know what? Let me give Rian Johnson a chance. And I loved Glass Onion, but when he said stuff like that, I was just bothered by it. I don't know why. Because I get wanting to see it on the theater and stuff, but my issue just don't sell. If Netflix is going to buy it for $469 million and Sony wants it for $450, and they're going to put it only in theaters, why not go with them? Yeah, I'm not saying Sony offered or was in but as an example.
Yeah, and I hear you being frustrated.
Yeah,
and I agree to an extent. What I want to know, okay, where I'll give Rian Johnson some slack here is, I love being right. And I'm sure Rian Johnson does too. And I'm sure throughout this whole process, they were telling, I don't know this for sure, obviously, that he was probably told, it's not going to make that much money. We're barely marketing the thing.
Yeah.
This is a wasted exercise. We're doing this to appease you, but it's a wasted exercise. And then the movie did extremely well for not being marketed and for only being in theaters for a week over a Thanksgiving holiday in which no one goes to the movies on Thanksgiving and Black Friday. They don't. I worked at one for years. Please let me work on that day. Because you got time and a half and no one was there. It was great. Then the movie makes these numbers and Rian Johnson's like, hello. So I get that. But I also see your point.
Yeah.
I think what it really all comes down to is, do we know for sure in that deal if a theatrical run was on the table, or was he just kind of begging for that theatrical run during the whole process? I think
here's a week.
I think that's what will kind of determine my feelings about it. But it's interesting to say the least, and I think what the experiment shows, Knives Out 3 should absolutely do a wide theatrical run. Absolutely do one. Here, I'll let you know how much the first Knives Out made. Hold for show. Knives Out domestically made $165 million and worldwide made $312. Netflix didn't release the movie worldwide for the 1 week. It was just in the US, I'm pretty sure. So you said goodbye to all that worldwide money, all that international money, and you didn't market it to give it a chance to make that 100-something million when it could have. So would you agree that Knives Out 3 should absolutely be in theaters?
Does Netflix own it?
Yep.
Is Netflix going to become a theatrically released movie studio?
I don't know.
Then no.
Hey,
did I love seeing it in theaters? Absolutely. But it's just going to anger me at Netflix.
Yeah.
Now, if they come out and want to be like, no, we are releasing it in theaters, then I'd be like, dumb move. You paid all that money. Recoup it. Sure, I'll be there. But if they do this 1 week theatrical release again, just put it on Netflix.
Yeah, just do it or don't.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
30 days or not at all.
Yeah. So let us know what you guys think about all that stuff from Glass Onion and Netflix and everything going on there in the comments below as we move on to our B-roll. Nick, go for it.
Here is the B-roll. These are just some little headlines we found interesting, but not enough to go into a full discussion on the stories. But still, if you're coming to us for your movie news, we wanted to provide it because they are interesting.
Absolutely.
Our first one, in the last B-roll, when I did it, we talked about Ian McShane and Keanu Reeves joining the cast of Ballerina.
Yes.
Well, Lance Reddick, most famous in the John Wick movies as the concierge at the hotel, has joined the John Wick spinoff as well.
Good.
So clearly the Continental is playing a big role in this movie.
Fuck yes it is.
You're giving me Keanu, Ana de Armas, Lance Reddick, and Ian McShane in a movie together. I'm in theaters day one.
Absolutely.
That's all I need. Our next story comes to us from Deadline. Ang Lee taps his son Mason Lee to play martial arts legend Bruce Lee in an epic at Sony's 3000 Pictures. I love Bruce Lee.
Me too.
Give me a Bruce Lee movie.
Yeah.
Ang Lee, great Hulk director. I didn't see the Gemini Man, so I don't know how.
It wasn't good, but Ang Lee has made some all-time great films. He made Brokeback Mountain.
Did he do Life of Pi?
He made Life of Pi. Yeah. He's made some excellent films. He's a great filmmaker. And in his early days, he did a lot of action films. So kind of seeing this return to, the action man himself is great. Now, when it comes to casting his son, we'll see. I've heard that his son has actually been working in the industry for a long time, especially in action-type roles. So we'll see if it was nepotism or if it was a good choice. I'm interested.
We'll see. A lot of Lee's working on this movie, and I think that's great. What a headline. I'm sure that news came out, and the headline reporters were like, oh, yes. This is where the fun begins. Our next story comes to us from Variety. This is an exclusive from Variety. The 2023 Oscars will include all 23 categories presented live on air. Well done.
Thank you. That's all we wanted.
This is great news, especially following years of controversy about cutting the topics that they feel like people don't care about, which I think is an insult. I think this is great news. The Oscars are a big deal to the movie nights, as you've seen our reactions and the game we play and everything.
Even if they're a year late.
Even if they are a year late. But I'm looking forward to it. I just think they're interesting.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And our last part of the B-roll comes to us from The Hollywood Reporter. Amazon's Jennifer Salk has gained control of MGM Film TV operations. The head of Amazon Studios has just been handed total control of MGM's film and television divisions following the retail giant streamer's February acquisition of the storied studio behind the James Bond and Rocky Creed franchises. What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are, now that there's someone running MGM at Amazon, for the love of fucking Christ, release the Rocky series on 4K. I've been waiting for so long. I have Creed 1 and 2 on 4K. I don't have the Rocky movies on Blu-ray. And I love those movies. And they're like, Dalton, why don't you have Rocky on Blu-ray? Because I know they're going to make a 4K. They have to. It's fucking Rocky. It's fucking Rocky. Just do it. Stop whatever's delaying it. And please, I'm begging you, ma'am, release the Rocky series on 4K. I just want to have it.
If they do Rocky 4 on 4K, is it Rocky 8K? And that'll conclude the B-roll.
Yo, they better put that fucking director's cut on 4K. That shit was pretty good.
That was pretty good, actually, except I missed the robot.
I don't like him anymore.
But yes, that concludes our section of the B-roll here as we're going to move into the box office. But before that, Dalton has an ad reading.
Yeah, that's right. Before we move on to the box office, I just wanted to take care of some quick housekeeping. Well, we love to have you join and watch us on YouTube. We get that life gets busy. You're constantly running around, or maybe you just don't like to see our faces, especially Nick's. So for your listening pleasure, the Movie Nights Roundtable is available in audio-only form on Spotify, Apple, Google, all other major podcasting platforms, and we are hosted by Acast. Simply open your podcasting app of choice, type Movie Nights Roundtable into the search, and look for that big yellow logo, Nicholas. Are you ready for the top 5 box office?
Yes, I am.
Because they just posted now.
Oh, what a lucky coincidence.
What a coincidence.
Now, as a reminder to our viewers and listeners, these are the Sunday estimates.
Yes.
We will post final box office numbers on Monday in the video description.
Absolutely. So, coming in number 1 in its 4th weekend of release, Black Panther Wakanda Forever,
all right,
making another $17 million. Coming in number 2 was Violent Night in its opening weekend, making $13.3 million. Coming in third was Strange World in its second week, making $4.9 million. And coming in fifth, coming in fourth, damn it. It's hanging in there with only a 35% drop from week 2 to week 3 was The Menu, making $3.5 million. And coming in fifth was Devotion in its second weekend, making $2.8 million. So, there are a couple box office things that I want to dive into more and get some, insight on. That was the word I was searching for there. Black Panther Wakanda Forever now has a worldwide total of $733 million. It's looking likely it could hit $1 billion by Avatar 2, hopefully. Violent Night worldwide has a total of $20 million, and I don't know the production budget. I don't imagine it was that high, so I'm sure that that's doing fairly well for them. Strange World, on the other hand, has a worldwide box office total of $42 million, and I know that its budget was somewhere in the 150s. Not great.
Yet Soul gets the Disney Plus release.
Yep. Well, that's what happens when you train your audience to stay at home for animated films. They're not going to go fucking watch them when they release them. Fucking dumbasses.
It also is the first Disney movie to receive a cinema score below an A.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Or Disney Animation. Sorry.
Yes.
That's why, yeah.
The Menu has made a total worldwide box office so far of $47.2 million. Good for that movie.
Oh, so good.
And it's really good. It's really, really good. And coming in fifth, Devotion worldwide box office has $13 million. I have a funny feeling it cost more to make that film.
What was Devotion? I'm not familiar with it.
It's the new fighter pilot movie with Jonathan Majors and Glenn Powell from Top Gun Maverick.
So we're just typecasting Glenn Powell now?
I guess so.
All right.
Although there is a funny behind-the-scenes story of when he booked Devotion, he called Tom Cruise and Joseph Kosinski, and he is like, I hope you guys don't think this is disrespectful, but I got this opportunity. I got to go do it.
That's
yes.
nice of him.
And also, something sad that I want to point out, when we're going to get into it a little bit later, The Fabelmans, total box office so far, domestically, is $5 million.
Mm-hmm.
Cost a bit more than that to make it, just to let you guys know.
Not a good marketing push on that movie, I noticed.
I agree.
Now,
I agree.
You and Kyler did not do predictions last week.
No, we did
Would
not.
you like to do some predictions for next week?
I would.
And what comes out? Anything this week?
That's an excellent question. In theaters, December 9th, there's a few things coming out. The Whale opens limited. I don't think we're getting it, though.
Okay.
Empire of Light comes out. That's the new Sam Mendes movie, shot by Roger Deakins.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting very mixed reviews, but if Roger Deakins is shooting it, I'm going to go see it.
Mm-hmm.
Emancipation, I believe, opens on Apple TV. That's the new Anton Fuqua Will Smith movie that I've heard is quite good. Not for theatrical release, though. I also believe that's when Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio comes out on Netflix. And the PG-13 cut of Father Stew.
Well, that's number one at the box office.
Clearly. And I believe this is also one of the wider rollouts for the movie Spoiler Alert with Jim Parsons, the rom-com.
Oh, yeah, I did see that advertised.
Yes. So I don't think any of those movies are making money, to be honest. I would not be shocked if we have a repeat top 5.
Yeah? Is that what you're going with?
All right, here's what I'm going to do. Number 1, Black Panther.
Okay.
Shocking. Number 2, Violent Night.
Okay.
Number 3, The Menu. Because it continually has low drops.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4, Devotion. Number 5, Strange World. I think Strange World's going to take that dip all the way to 5, and Menu and Devotion are going to bump up a bit.
So you're just swapping from the top 5. Oh, no, you're swapping a few things.
Yeah.
Call Me Crazy.
Crazy.
I'm going to go Black Panther.
Okay. Wow. That's
right.
bold.
I'm going to go Violent Night.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go The Menu.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go Strange World.
Okay.
And I'm going to keep Devotion in 5. So I'm going to swap The Menu
okay.
and Strange World. Because
okay.
I do like your thoughts on The Menu, the low drops there.
Yeah, that's true.
And that will be my predictions.
All right. We'll see. We're probably both going to lose because that normally ends up what's happening. So what are your guys' predictions for the box office next week? Let us know in the comments as we move on to our movie reviews. We have 2 movies we're going to review.
Ooh.
One is going to be The Fabelmans from Mr. Steven Spielberg, and the other is going to be The Banshees of Inisherin because he watched it a few weeks ago. I finally watched it, and I want to talk about it with him. So let's do Fabelmans first.
Okay.
I've seen it now twice.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really like the film, especially the second time around. Not that I didn't like it the first time, but it's kind of, if you're expecting one thing and you don't get it, you're like, oh, did I like it, or is it just because my expectations were weird? And then when I knew what it was and watched it again, I was like, this is a fantastic movie. I would say it's probably middle Spielberg for me. And that's not a knock on the movie, it's just how great his other films are. But you could tell it's very personal. It felt like the most personal Spielberg movie because this is a semi-autobiographical movie about his life. And there are certain things in there that are really fun to see, especially when it was talking about movies. Loved it.
Yes.
And I cared mostly about the family dynamic stuff. There were some times where I was like, okay, I almost feel like this scene could even be cut. Like I don't even see why it was kept. But if I was making a movie about my life, it'd be very hard to cut scenes as well. So I get that. But overall, I really enjoyed the film. I do think it was about 20 minutes too long. And something that the film nails, if your movie has a great ending, it almost just adds extra points. And the final scene of this movie fucking rules. It's great. And John Williams' music kicks in because it's mostly in the background the whole movie. Then at the end, you get peak John Williams stuff. Yeah. And it was really, really fun to see. And it makes me sad because I think, if I'm not mistaken, Indy 5 is the last John Williams film.
Oh, wow.
I think he's retiring, which he's 90 something, so that makes sense. But it does make me sad.
But he's going out with a bang. God
Yes,
damn it.
yes. Anyways, thoughts on the Fabelmans?
I've been sitting on a rating for it for a while there.
Yeah.
I predominantly use Letterboxd, which
Mhm.
has the 5-star rating on
Yeah.
it, and I think I'm sitting at a 3-star right now out of
Okay.
5, which fascinated me because I felt like I was one of the more excited for the movie in the
Mhm.
group,
Yeah, same.
and I gave it the lowest rating out of everyone in the group.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was, like you said, kind of an expectation thing, and maybe rewatching it, I'll like it more. In terms of stuff that I didn't care for, I agree with you in that it kind of felt about 20 minutes too long. I was not a fan of Michelle Williams' performance in it.
Okay, I have seen that be divisive amongst people.
And I've been conflicted on it because this is semi-autobiographical about Steven Spielberg's life. So maybe that's exactly how his mother was.
Yeah.
It just felt out of place in the movie.
Mhm.
And maybe that was done purposefully.
Because she felt like an out of place person
Exactly.
in the world. Yeah.
But I felt that the performance took over too much of the movie.
It took you out of the movie instead of inviting you into the movie.
Yes.
Okay.
To me, it felt like this person doesn't seem real.
Mhm.
Whereas all the other characters felt more grounded.
Okay.
Like I was like, okay, the dad, that person can exist. I
Mhm.
looked at the mom and I'm like, I don't think this person exists.
Mhm.
And I'm sure there's flair. Like I doubt she ever bought a monkey.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know for a fact, but like all that kind of stuff just took me like so out of it.
Mhm.
Also again, and with that, I felt a lack of chemistry between her and Paul Dano. And back and forth on that again too, because it's like, well, they were supposed to be not compatible.
Yeah.
But again, I feel like it's been done in movies before where the parents are not compatible, but it still compels me into the movie. And this like took me out of it. Like I felt separated from it again. And okay, there's another character in the movie that they want you to buy into Michelle Williams' character having chemistry with.
Mhm.
And I didn't feel chemistry there either.
Okay.
So that immediately also took me out of it.
Okay.
Now, in terms of what I did like, everything that wasn't involved with that.
Okay.
I loved watching, what was it, Sammy?
Mhm.
Sammy Fabelman. You know, just his start with filmmaking, the relationship with him and his father
Yeah.
was really interesting, I found, at least. And just his whole, like, high school thing, like, scenes with bullies and how that plays, and his movie making for the school, and then the end credits screen. And here's the thing, like, every critique I have, Steven Spielberg he's Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So, like, me saying that this is, if we did, like, an S tier list,
Yeah.
low B, high C Spielberg,
Yeah.
that's still better than
That's
most
still
people's
S tier for half of the other filmmakers
Exactly.
out there. Yeah.
And I think that with the amount of movies that Spielberg does and just his masterful work, he's the only one that would have the knowledge and the balls to pull off an end shot like he did in this movie.
Yes.
The
end shot is so good.
That only comes with just experience and talent, I think.
Yeah.
And that outweighed so much of it for me and that whole final sequence, like you said, I thought was great. But yeah, I'm kind of just sitting at like I don't know if it was expectation, maybe if I see it again, but I kind of felt the same way about Michelle Williams' performance as I did about Tom Hanks in Elvis.
Okay.
Where the character was just too much that I felt like it knocked down, let's say, like a 4-star movie down. In my eyes, at least.
I see. And I'll say this with Spielberg, too, because I think he does a great job directing the film, and I think he will get nominated and possibly even win Best Director for the film. But this may be a bit controversial. I like this film more than I like West Side Story, but I think he directed West Side Story better than he directed this film.
Okay.
Like, when I was watching West Side Story, I was like, we are watching the GOAT right now. Like, going off, like especially with like the gymnasium sequence and stuff.
Yeah.
And this film, now granted, this film is not a musical. It's not flashy like West Side Story is supposed to be.
It's more intimate, family
It's more
drama,
intimate, and he nails that stuff. And where the Spielberg that we know shines is the scenes with him alone with his camera, with his filmmaking. Like the scene that's in the trailer, so I can say it, the young Sammy Fabelman holding up his hands as a screen for the projector. Like that kind of shit is like, oh my God. And like the final sequence, unbelievable, with an amazing, amazing cameo, by the way. But, I think that I recognize that throughout this movie, you're supposed to kind of sit and observe these characters. But I also feel like as an artist with Steven Spielberg, there's a part of him that kind of was like hard to disconnect. You know what I mean? To do those moments. But the ones that were alone personal with him, he could, because that's who he's been living with his whole life.
Yeah.
But, and look, Judd Hirsch comes in this movie and fucking steals it.
That's it. Like, I just didn't I didn't know if this was supposed to be a love letter to his family or a hate letter. Mm-hmm. And I think I said it when we got out of the theater. I said, a man will really become the greatest filmmaker of all time just to direct a family drama instead of going to therapy.
Yes.
And that's exactly what I felt like. Like, I didn't...
to me, it wasn't a love or hate letter. It was an honest letter. Mm-hmm. It was just a look as to the family through the lens of his personal view of it.
And something I'll give it to with something like this is it didn't feel self-servicing to Spielberg.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, he wasn't just sitting there like, yes, I know I'm the greatest filmmaker.
Yeah, no,
alive.
It did not feel that way.
Yeah. Like, you could watch this, that's Steven Spielberg directing it, and if someone didn't know that it was about his life, I don't know if that would, piece together.
Yeah, I will say, if you didn't know that, the film still works.
Yes, exactly.
1,000%.
Yeah.
And he's not narcissistic, because there's a cameo in this movie that I mentioned earlier that would have been tailor-made for Spielberg to cameo as.
Yeah.
And the fact that he didn't just shows he's a good person, because I don't know if I was making a movie and that cameo was in it, I probably would have done it just to be an asshole.
I think I leaned over to you and I said, he wouldn't, would he? Like, as it was building up, because they kind of teased like, oh, there's about to be a cameo.
Yeah,
and I said, I will give it 5 stars if it's him, just because that'd be just awesome.
Yeah. But and now the hilarious thing about all of this, the way we're talking about the movie very critically, very openly critical, because of how much we admire Spielberg's work. We both enthusiastically recommend to see this movie. It's not a, because like I hate when that happens where I'm talking about a movie and someone goes, "Did you not like it?" I'm like, "No, I'm just in depth speaking about it."
Here was my thing. I think that also paid to, and again, expectation and everything.
Yeah,
the trailer made me cry.
Yeah,
I'll be open about it.
Mm-hmm.
I cried. I teared up during the trailer watching it. I didn't get close to being teary-eyed in this movie, and I think that also kind of impacted me and my viewing of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
But recommend, don't recommend. I mean, it's Spielberg.
Yeah.
Get them while you can.
Of course.
Absolutely,
yes. So those are our thoughts on the Fabelmans. Now let's move on to the Banshees of Inisherin.
Yes.
Which you had the pleasure of seeing before me. What a movie.
I told you.
You did. And here's the thing. It's not that I didn't believe you, because I love Martin McDonagh as a writer and director. He is fucking phenomenal, and he's not brought up enough in the conversations of the best filmmaker working today. Mm-hmm. He truly is. 3 Billboards, amazing film. 7 Psychopaths, awesome film. I hate to admit that I have not seen In Bruges. But
I have not seen In Bruges either.
I've heard that that's the reason why we know who he is because of that film.
Mm-hmm.
And this film, ironically, we haven't seen In Bruges, but this film, why it was meant a lot to many people is because it's an In Bruges reunion between Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson, and who both do phenomenal work in the film, by the way. Colin Farrell, absolutely getting nominated. Brendan Gleeson, maybe. Although they're going to overlook Barry Keoghan, and it's going to upset me because he's great in this movie.
I'm not a big Barry Keoghan fan, and this is the first time that I was like, all right, go off.
He did excellent. And the actress who plays the sister is leaving me. But yeah, look it up, because she crushed it as well. I want to see her get nominated too. She was phenomenal in the movie. And here's the crazy thing about this movie. The plot of this movie...
Carrie Condon.
Amazing. The plot of this movie is so simple.
She's Friday.
Really?
Yeah, the voice of Friday in Infinity War.
Didn't know that.
How about that?
Yeah.
She didn't say feck in that, though.
Feck.
And that made me sad.
Yes, but the plot of this movie is extremely simple. It is about these two friends who live on Inisherin. It's a period piece. I forget what year they.
One of the wars.
Yeah.
Yeah. Two.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's Inisherin is like an island off of Ireland, so it's disconnected from the mainland. Two best friends who live there. One of the best friends decides one day, I don't like you anymore, and I don't want to be your friend. And the whole movie is just about the other friend struggling with that and trying to win his friend back. And I tell you this, and you're like, that doesn't sound appealing or interesting. It's a beautiful movie.
Well, then the other friend gets annoyed and says, listen, if you talk to me, I'm chopping a finger off every time you do.
Mm-hmm.
And that sounds funny in theory, and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, and just seeing like this whole relationship fall apart, seeing this guy kind of just, you're stuck on an island, you don't have many friends, and everyone talks to each other. So every time he goes to his favorite bar, the guy who he wants to talk to but doesn't want to talk to him is there.
Mm-hmm.
And, just seeing that happen, seeing the film balance tone from comedy to drama beautifully, and each minute of the movie is better than the previous minute. Like, it just goes like this, the whole movie.
With that simple of a plot, like we just described, you're thinking, how the hell are they going to milk this for 2 hours?
Yeah.
And then the movie ends, and you're like, are there not 2 more hours?
Yes. And also, and this is something I bring up all the time when I talk about different aspects of writing, different aspects of filmmaking, is plot versus story. Plot, very simple. Story, deep, thematic, beautiful. The story of this film is what drives it home, along with the characters.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's some really conflicting emotions from these people. Like, no character is one-dimensional, which was very nice to see.
And just some of the dialogue, too, when you said, like, the balancing of the comedy and
mm-hmm.
switching from comedy to drama, but I would say that it's not switching as much as they're, like, intertwined.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Barry Keoghan has a line delivery, and you're like, that's a good joke, and then you just sit with that line, and you're like, oh, no, he was being serious.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, just that deflection with the humor.
Yes.
Was just so wonderfully done.
Yeah. And the movie does let you sit. The movie lets you sit, and it feels slow, but my attention was on the movie from the moment it started to the moment it ended.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it never lost me. And it just goes to show how great Mark McDonagh is, and he's not talked about enough. And, yeah. You want to hear something fucking nuts?
Mm.
I have to make sure. I don't believe he's ever been nominated for Best Director. He's only been nominated for writing, I think.
Didn't Billboards get Best Picture?
Nomination. I don't think it got a...
Directing?
Let me make sure of that. Because now, granted, he deserves every writing nomination he's ever gotten because he's a great writer.
Yeah.
But he's also a phenomenal director.
Where do you see Banshees going for the Oscars? Definitely a screenplay.
Definitely screenplay. It might win.
Screenplay? Easy.
Because I think it's an original screenplay, so it'll be in the original category.
I think they'll probably end up going up against Everything Everywhere All at Once for that.
Yeah.
I think that'll be a tight race.
Yeah, there's a few. Oh, we're getting close to Oscar season. This is my favorite time of the year where we get to have all these discussions. So, Academy Awards, he was nominated in 2018 for Best Picture and Best Original Screenplay for 3 Billboards,
Mm-hmm.
and he was nominated for writing in Bruges. The only thing he won for was he won a Best Live Action Short Film.
Wow. At the Oscars?
Mm-hmm.
So he does have an Oscar on his shelf.
Yes, but not for writing, and he's never been nominated as a director.
Just for Best Short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, hopefully this is his year because
Yeah.
as it sits currently, and we'll do our end of the year, top tier lists and everything like that, but I have Banshees sitting at number 2 right now.
No, it's my number 2 movie of the year also.
So-
It jumped there. Yeah.
What's your number? Is it Everything?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where mine's at too.
Yeah. I have the 4K, by the way, but I haven't watched it yet.
Ooh,
Yeah.
nice.
Hannah's never seen it, so I might have to sit down and watch it with her.
Mhm.
But yeah, so obviously hugely recommend
Yes.
Banshees of Inisherin as well.
I believe December 13th, mid-December at some point, it
Mhm.
will be on HBO Max. That just got
Fucking
announced
watch it. Yeah.
yesterday, I think.
Yeah.
So definitely check it out if you have it.
It is great. It is great. So, yeah, I want to say that that's all we had for the show today. But before we go, if you like what you heard today and you want more, don't forget to subscribe to the official Movie Nights YouTube channel for weekly shows and movie reviews and interviews. Please watch those. We just had an interview with Josh Rubin, the director of Werewolves Within and the star of A Wounded Fawn, now streaming on Shudder. It was a very fun interview to have.
Very cool guy.
Mr. Rubin was a very nice person. You can also check us out on our social media channels where we post updates, short video clips, and more. Those links can be found in the description. That is, if my dumbass remembers. Nick, you got anything else for him?
No.
Take care, brush your hair.
Take care, brush your hair.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.